And Abdal, from what I read and saw and heard from the conversations and press conferences last night, it seemed like the offense was so-so, but it really seemed like the defense had some moments last night, which I continue to kind of put into this idea that there is an edge to this defense this year, which was missing last year. And hopefully they improve enough, because I think the easiest way to get back to respectability and out of the basement of the NFL is have a good defense.
Yeah,
It's one of two things. Have a top 5 quarterback or have a good defense. Unfortunately, I don't think Justin Fields is a top 5 quarterback, at least yet. Maybe one day he becomes that, and that would be really great for all of us. But until then, the easiest way to get back to middle of the pack in the NFL is have a defense that's really good. You have a defensive-minded head coach. It's good to hear and see this stuff from Indy from last night in the joint practice.
Yeah, Kyler Gordon had another good night. You saw DeMarcus Walker was back out there in practice. You had Eddie Jackson was playing really well. He left practice a few plays early. Like, it was almost the end of practice anyway, so he probably wasn't going to come back in just for a few plays. But he did get banged up on a collision yesterday. And for those wondering, Nate Davis was out there. He didn't do very much with the team, but he had his pads on and he was doing some one-on-one drills and stuff like that. He didn't do very many team drills, but Nate Davis was out there and practicing. But yeah, it is good to see. I saw, some good throws from Justin Fields that were reported, some good throws in one-on-one drills and stuff like that. But it's good to practice against another team, not have 1,000 fights, and this is some good experience to get ready for the regular season.
And I also kind of added into this idea is, right, we've seen what's taken place at camp, right? And you can only do so much against your own team. But as the time kind of continues on here and you face off against other teams, and then you also have these preseason games mixed in, it's good to see how they fare against other competition. The thing that I read yesterday that impressed me the most was a tweet that was from the Colts ESPN reporter saying that yesterday was by far the worst performance from Anthony Richardson in all of camp. And that, to me, is refreshing from what we saw from our Bears defense last season to this point, right? Like, that's what's refreshing to me, is that he's a young quarterback. He's learning. He's in the spot to be a starter finally, right? Like, he's going to start the season for the Colts. This is their future. It's good that our defense was causing enough damage to their offense that yesterday, the first time that these two have, gotten together for a joint practice, that this was the worst practice for the young quarterback for the Colts, Anthony Richardson. I saw that yesterday and I was like, oh, that makes me feel good about this defense. It's good.
It's good to know, because I don't really think they face a lot of elite quarterbacks this year. You've got Jordan Love, who we don't really know anything about. You've got, obviously you face Herbert, you face Mahomes. We get that. You face Goff is in the division. Obviously Kirk Cousins in the division, but
it's Mahomes and Herbert.
Yeah.
They're going to face off against Mahomes and Herbert, and outside of that, you have a bunch of mid quarterbacks.
They're going to get Bryce Young when they face the Panthers. You're going to get Baker Mayfield
back in April. I think we ran through all the quarterbacks the Bears are going to face, and there's going to be a handful of games that the Bears will have where the best quarterback on the field will be Justin Fields.
Oh, absolutely. I even saw people are like, oh, they're not going to beat the Commanders. They're not going to beat the Commanders. Ron Rivera was hesitant to name Sam Howell the starter.
Right. Jacoby Brissett has been playing some as well, so that's a quarterback competition. There's only like 3 teams in the NFL that have quarterback competitions in camp. It's Tampa, Washington, and where's the other one? For the most part, it's maybe Texas, the Texans, but C.J. Stroud started their first preseason game. Yeah. Who knows how that goes with Davis Mills, but essentially – The Bears are going to face a bunch of mediocre quarterbacks this season.
Well, and what was good also in the first preseason game that we watched is that secondary was playing well, right? And before They added Yannick Ngakoue. We were talking about how that would need to be a strength of the defense because you're not going to be able to you're going to struggle to get to the quarterback without an elite pass rusher. Well, now they have an elite pass rusher, so that should make their jobs a little bit easier. But also, if you force a quarterback into a bad throw, you've got a couple ball hawks back there that went out there and healthy have been able to generate turnovers. Eddie Jackson was generating turnovers last year before he got hurt. So you've got guys that can take advantage of that, especially when you're facing not great quarterbacks, but also younger quarterbacks. It should help. It was good to see that they made a rookie struggle yesterday, for sure.
Alan Williams talked about the benefit of joint practice with the Colts.
Yeah, you get a different look. We get the same look since OTAs. So you kind of get used to, hey, how this guy blocks, the routes they run, the calls, and now you have to be able to, hey, look out here, see what the formation is, get lined up, read your keys. And so it's good to see, can guys make that transition from what they've been doing from OTAs until now, and then see a different team, different plays, that type of thing. So you really get a pretty good idea of, can a guy make that transition week to week? And so that's a big deal.
Kyler Gordon talked last night also about being hyped for the regular season to get closer and closer. We're almost there.
I just feel like, the threshold just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And, we got a lot of energy. We got a lot of guys, a lot of loud mouths on our team. People want to go and then get at it and stuff like that. So, the energy keeps rising, and the more and more we get towards the season. So, as soon as we get there and we start off with the Packers, it's going to be great. And you're going to see bits and pieces about it in the preseason. And once it gets going, it's going to go.
I like the chirpiness. I like the feistiness from the secondary. More reports of that yesterday with the Colts and this joint practice. Hopefully we see more of that today and also in the preseason game on Saturday. This is why the basis of my idea of this team being average and fighting for a playoff spot has more to do with the improvements defensively than they do necessarily with the development of the quarterback. Justin Fields can develop this year, and if the defense is no good, it's not going to make much of a difference. If the Bears defense goes out and gives up 30 points per game, we could see all the development in the world on the offensive side. You won't actually win games. The key here is hitting the sweet spot. Both the quarterback and the offense improves, and the defense improves as well. The secondary, I think, is going to be good. I think having Gordon there, mix him with Stevenson, who's been playing well here throughout camp, Johnson, Brisker, Jackson, I like that five-man group. And then also the additions you made at linebacker, Edwards and Edmonds. I think that's going to help. Walker was back at practice last night. And Ngakoue on the other end, I think that's going to work. You draft two players at tackle, Pickens and Dexter. Hopefully they push Jones and Billings, and now you have something working defensively. The improvement defensively is exactly why I think this team's going to be in that middle section of the NFC, fighting for a playoff spot, right around 8 or 9 wins. If everything breaks your way, maybe you get to 9. Maybe you you take a look at 10. But nothing more than that. This isn't crazy. We're not suggesting this is going to be a Super Bowl contending team. But this team's going to be improved, and I'm going to point to the defensive side as being the reason why they stay in games, allowing the quarterback and that number one wide receiver to maybe come through at the end of some of these games this season.
Well, let's do the math, right? Okay, so if Justin Fields in this offense is decent enough to generate, let's say, 24 points a game, right? Can they put up 24 points a game? Can this defense, can a 15th place defense, middle of the pack, 15th, 16th place defense, can they hold a team to under 24 points? And if these Bears can do that, if this defense can do that, then yeah, I think they can be successful. Also, we go back a few years, and people that want to throw this in your face whenever they feel like it's good for their argument is that Mitchell Trubisky led a team to the playoffs. He did not. They had the best defense. They had a historically good defense when it came to turnovers. They had the best defense in the NFL by far. Now, we all can agree that Justin Fields is better than Mitchell Trubisky, that we'd rather have Justin Fields than Trubisky. So if you do that and think about what that team could have been with a real starting quarterback, with better weapons, with a guy like DJ Moore, like
maybe
all
a
that
kicker?
kind of stuff. Yeah, with a real kicker.
A kicker could have
but you
helped.
shouldn't have put yourselves in that situation in the first place.
Maybe a kicker.
But if they would,
could have helped.
if you have, at least a mediocre defense, don't be last. And I think just if you stay healthy and the additions that they've made, they can be 16th, 15th, right around there. The offense will take care of itself. We've seen that it can be, from what we've heard in training camp and what we've seen at least in the first preseason game. I know there's not a lot to take away from it, but they can be pretty explosive. You've got a guy in DJ Moore who can generate missed tackles, who can add yards after the catch when guys were falling down right away last year. You've got a good offense. You've got the best offensive line when it came to running the football. Now they've got to protect Justin Fields when it comes to passing the football. So if they can do that and the defense can hold its own. Also, it's a big year, too, with the additions that they've made on defense and the money that they spent on that side of the ball. It's a big year for Matt Eberflus. This is his defense.
Yeah.
He's the defensive-minded head coach. If they end up being the worst defense in the league and can't stop the run and they're the worst defense against the run, it calls his system into question. And you have to start questioning the head coach and saying, hey, we brought you in as a defensive-minded head coach and spent all this money on defense, and you're worst again?
Yeah, and that's why it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
They're going to improve. Lucio and Hermosa, you're on ESPN 1000 Talking Bears. What's up, Lucio?
Hey, guys. How's your day going?
Good, man.
Good.
What do you think?
So what I think right now is Justin Fields, he's going to be a good quarterback for us, probably for the future. And, an example to give you guys, when he was in college, he had weapons in the O-line, and he was a great passer. And so I think our Bears team is going to be really good. We're going to be improved. I'll say probably 9 to 10 wins. And that's pretty much it. Have a good day.
Thanks, Lucio. Appreciate the phone call. We go to Jim in Crystal Lake. Jim, you're on ESPN 1000. What's up, Jim?
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. Hopefully this makes sense to you. But I just got an overall question. I don't believe in what I'm about to say, but I want to see what you guys say. So last year, we're going through the season, and a lot of people, even you guys included on your radio station, and I got friends who say the same thing. So the Bears needed to learn how to win last year. And they can't figure it out. They can't keep losing these games because you got to learn how to win. And they need to go into next season with momentum. And again, I don't think any of that is necessarily true this year, but I want to see if you guys think at this time that has anything to do with the wins they're going to have this year.
I think it depends on the player. I think for the quarterback to be in those games at the end of last season, I think that mattered. I think that's a part of the development. Now, you could look at the roster. There's a lot of guys that are not here, and a lot of guys that were brought in that I think will affect winning. So, I think for the individual player who's still here, yeah, I think it was good that Cole Kmet played almost a full season last year, right? He was successful. I thought Justin Fields was successful. Clearly, it meant something to Kyler Gordon. Kyler Gordon has showed up here at camp, and he's hitting, and he looks like a stud. So I think it depends on the player. Overall, probably not, but I think for the individuals, I think it does matter to some.
Rock on.
All right, thanks for the call, Jim.
Yes.
Thanks for the phone call. And what's interesting about that is we talked to GM Ryan Poles back in May. It was May the 12th, and we asked him that same kind of question. Can a young team learn how to win? This is what Ryan Poles had to say back in May.
Yeah, you got to do it. You got to do it. You talk about it. You got to set the standard of what it takes to win. And then you need it to happen, obviously. So you got to be able to get, that first one and then get that second one and start to have that confidence in the season that you're capable of beating anybody. So I know we're getting there. We built some of that culture and the mindset piece. Now you got to put it in action to actually win those games. But I do think we've set a standard of how we're going to operate, and that should turn into winning.
Set a standard and put it into action. You got to do it.
Yeah, obviously all the losing and sitting through the losing streaks and everything last year, it netted a good result, but that's outcome bias because you and I were rooting for them to find ways to win. I wanted them to complete comebacks. I wanted them with the ball, with Justin Fields having the ball with 2 minutes left, and Darnell Mooney can't get his butt cheek down, or Smith Marsette's having the ball ripped out, or Velus Jones muffs another punt. You can't have. I was upset when those things were happening because I want this team and Justin Fields to find out ways to win. Now, obviously, when they end up losing all those games, it was great because they ended up with the number 1 overall pick. They turned into DJ Moore and then some and all that good stuff. That's fine. But now you need to turn it on. Now you need to flip the switch and find ways to win football games. And I think on talent alone that they will just be better than a lot of the teams that they face this year.
Black and Abdallah, we're in for Greeny. We're talking Bears.
You're listening to